Very good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the most powerful topic which is most important in a competitive track. The competitive track means the NEET and MSET. Even it is very important in you are going for higher studies like MBBS or BDS. Why? Because this is a topic called as what? Respiration. Respiration in plants. Respiration in plants. So all living organisms will do this metabolic process called as what? Respiration. That metabolic process is common in all living organisms. The living organisms may be a plant, may be an animal, including what means a human. Even human beings also, this metabolic pathway called as respiration will take place, right? So now today we are going to discuss about what briefly about respiration in plants. Respiration is nothing but we can say simply what is respiration means breakdown of food. In a simple language, what you can say means it is breakdown of food. Here the food may be a carbohydrates, the food may be a carbohydrates, the food may be a fats, the food may be a protein, even the food may be a organic acid. Depending upon the situation, even sometimes the organisms also take water, organic acid also. So it is nothing but breakdown of carbohydrates, fats, protein and organic acid. Technically speaking, it is nothing but a breakdown of biomolecules, which are nothing but biomacromolecules. The biomacromolecules are nothing but carbohydrates, fats, proteins as well as what? Organic acids. When they break down, what will happen means energy will be liberated out. So it is a pathway for the releasing of what? Energy. What for energy? Energy for doing work. So for doing work, not even the cells, if they want to do their activities, they require what? Energy. That energy is liberated only during a process called as what? Respiration. And this liberated energy generally stores in the form of ATP. What is ATP? Nothing but adenosine triphosphate, which we call them as in a common as cellular currency. Like we require currency for our life, even the cell requires what? Currency for living its life. That is nothing but what? ATP. The full form of ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate. This adenosine triphosphate, when it undergo hydrolysis is nothing but breakdown. It will release us 7.6 kilocalories of energy. So how much of energy is liberated by one ATP means it will liberate 7.6 kilocalories of energy. So this entire process is only taking place for the purpose of liberating the energy. That liberated energy will comes out in the form of what? ATP, which we call them as what? Cellular currency. Even we can also define what is respiration in a complex as it is nothing but breakdown of CC bond. CC bonds are nothing but carbon-carbon bonds. When these carbon bonds are undergo breakdown, they liberate energy. You can ask me where these CC bonds are present. The CC bonds are present in carbohydrates, fats, proteins and organic acids. So that CC bond when undergo breakdown, they liberates the energy. A simple we can convert, or we can also define this is nothing but conversion of a complex into simple. Conversion of a complex substance into simple form and liberating the energy. If you see this respiration, here what is liberating means energy is liberating. So if you see this respiration, when energy comes out, we call such process as what? Exergonic process means energy liberated process. And here splitting is taking place. That's why we call them as what? Catabolic. And here what is happening means the respiratory substrates are undergoing oxidation. That's why what is respiration means we can say that it is an exergonic catabolic oxidation process or oxidative process. That means exergonic means energy will be liberated out. Catabolic means that is nothing but what? Splitting. And oxidation is nothing but they are undergoing oxidation the process. Right. So this respiration based upon respiratory substrates means which type of respiratory substrates are undergoing respiration. The respiratory substrate, just now I told what are the respiratory substrate. It may be a carbohydrate, it may be a carbohydrate, it may be a protein, it may be a fat, it may be organic acids. Organic acid, right? Organic acids. Organic acid. So these are called as respiratory substrate: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and organic acids, right? Right. So here we can see that what is definition? Definition of respiration is nothing but breaking of CC bonds of a complex compound through the oxidation within the cell, releasing what considerable amount of energy. That is called respiration. Just now I told. Next, the compounds that are oxidized during this process are called as respiratory substrate. Usually, so here I told that respiratory substrates are nothing but carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and organic acid. Usually, the most common form of respiratory substrate is carbohydrates. Why? This carbohydrates in simple language we call them as what? Sugar. Right. Then other respiratory substrates are also there, which are nothing but protein, fats, and organic acid. Depending upon the conditions, some plants will utilize even these things also. If you see here, the term respiration was coined by Dujarchet. What he says that it is nothing but exergonic catabolic oxidative process. All the energy which is required for this oxidation we will get from the food. That food has to undergo a metabolic pathway called as what? Respiration. Here you can see. Who will do respiration? Green plants will do respiration. Cyanobacteria will do respiration. Now, why during this where from the food is prepared? Food is prepared by means of a process called as photosynthesis. That's why we are saying that only green plants and cyanobacteria can prepare their own food by a process of photosynthesis and convert into chemical energy that is stored in the form of carbohydrates. In plants, all other organs like tissue, cells, they are non-green. Even they require what? Food for their oxidation. In order to do their work, they require energy. Now, if you see this respiration, based upon we say commonly respiration is of two types. One is what? Aerobic respiration, and another is what? Anaerobic respiration. We know this that even we can classify respiration based upon the respiratory substrate. What are the respiratory substrate? Based upon respiratory substrate, these are nothing but carbohydrate, protein, fats, and organic acid. We are classifying them into two types based upon the respiratory substrate. What is the respiratory substrate? For example, if you take protein, then such type of respiration is called as protoplasmic respiration. Protoplasmic respiration. If it is fats or lipids, then it is called as floating respiration. So here we are classifying the respiration based upon the respiratory substrate. One will be the what? Protoplasmic respiration, and other will be floating respiration. If the compound is protein, which is abundantly found in the cytoplasm, then that is called as protoplasmic respiration. If the respiratory compounds are fats, or we can say what? Carbohydrates, etc., then that is called as what? Floating respiration. But basically speaking, we know there are two respiration like based upon utilization of O2, right? Based upon utilization of O2. One is called as what? Aerobic respiration, other is called anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, what we can say? O2 is utilized. In anaerobic respiration, O2 is not utilized. So if you see that, we can say that it is very common. Which is very common? Aerobic respiration is very common in all higher organisms. That higher organisms may be plant, may be animal, may be the human, and it occurs in the presence of O2. Here, what is happening means glucose is completely oxidized. If you observe this equation, C6H12O6 plus 6CO2 will give rise to 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy. That energy is, let us say, 686 kilocalories of energy. This is the equation of what? Aerobic respiration. Here we see that this is the glucose molecule C6H12O6. This is undergoing oxidation with the help of oxygen. So for oxidation of one molecule of glucose, we require 6 molecules of oxygen. At the end products of aerobic respiration we are getting. What is that? Carbon dioxide and water. How many molecules of carbon dioxide means 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. How many molecules of water means 6 molecules of water. And how much amount of energy is 686 kilocalories of energy. This is very important in a competitive tracker. The questions will be never will be directly. They may say that for a liberating of 6 molecules of CO2, one of the example I'm giving, for the liberation of 6 molecules of CO2, how many oxygen molecules are involved, or how many glucose molecules undergo oxidation to liberate 6 molecules of carbon dioxide? Then the answer will be 1 glucose molecule. So with 1 glucose molecules, with the help of 6 O2, it is giving rise to 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water. Along with that, what is liberated? Energy is liberated. So one thing is clear in this, that energy comes out. How much amount of energy comes out? 36 ATP comes. 36 ATPs are produced during aerobic respiration. This 36 is the net gain. 36 is the net gain, and total will be 38. Total will be 38. So here 36 is the net and total will be the 38. And if you observe, see here, in energy point of view, this aerobic respiration is efficient process, and it occurs where? It occurs in the mitochondria. The only respiration which is associated with mitochondria is aerobic respiration. Why? Because in case of anaerobic respiration, mitochondria is not associated, it is dissociated. If you see this aerobic respiration, it completes in 4 steps. So in detail, first we'll know about aerobic respiration step. Aerobic respiration completes in 4 steps. The 4 steps are: one is glycolysis. Second one is called as link reaction. Third one is called as what? Krebs cycle. And the fourth one is called as what? Oxidative phosphorylation. These are the 4 steps which takes place during aerobic respiration. The first step is called as glycolysis, second step is called as link reaction, and the third step is called as Krebs cycle, and the fourth step is called as what? Oxidative phosphorylation. If you see the first step, which is glycolysis, this is a step which takes place in cytosol, or we can also say cytoplasm. That means this is the only step which is not taking place inside the mitochondria. That these 3 steps are the only steps which are taking place inside the mitochondria. And the steps which are taking place inside the mitochondria, we can call this as what? Cellular respiration. The first step, which is nothing but glycolysis, it is not inside the mitochondria, it is outside the mitochondria. Outside the mitochondria means, simply speaking, cytoplasm or cytosol. What is a cytosol? Cytosol is an empty region where cell organelles are completely absent. Such a region is called cytosol, where we can say glycolysis takes place. So what we studied in aerobic respiration, it is common in all higher plants. It occurs in the presence of oxygen. Here glucose is completely oxidized. 680 kilocalories of energy is released. That's why we call it an efficient process. The end products are carbon dioxide and water, and it completes in 4 steps. So first step is glycolysis, remaining this which takes place inside the mitochondria. First step is inside the cytosol. Now I told just now, before going to in detail about aerobic respiration, let us study a little bit about what anaerobic respiration. If you see this anaerobic respiration, it is a respiration which takes place inside the lower organisms. Lower organisms means nothing but you can take a bacteria, you can take a yeast, etc. And these organisms where this anaerobic respiration takes place is called as what? Anaerobes. So the anaerobes may be a bacteria, the anaerobes may be a yeast, right? And this is the respiration which is taking place in the absence of O2. O2 is not required. And here what is happening means the respiratory substrate called as glucose is incompletely oxidized, or we can say it is partially oxidized. Whereas in case of aerobic respiration, the glucose is completely oxidized. When glucose completely oxidized, you will get carbon dioxide and water. When there is glucose undergo anaerobic respiration, there it undergo about partial oxidation. When there is a partial oxidation, the end products will be 2C2H5OH plus 2 molecules of carbon dioxide. That means C2H5OH is nothing but what? Ethyl alcohol. So here the end product will be ethyl alcohol and the carbon dioxide. Right? Sometimes you may get lactic acid also. You can also get lactic acid also. So sometimes you may get lactic acid. The reason is that it depends upon the type of organism which is undergoing anaerobic respiration. If the bacteria is undergoing anaerobic respiration, then you will get lactic acid. If yeast undergo anaerobic respiration, then you will get ethyl alcohol. And if you take energy point of view also, how much energy will be liberated means 56 kilocalories of energy is liberated, whereas here 686 kilocalories is liberated. So energy point of view also, we say this is an inefficient process, this is an efficient process. And this anaerobic respiration completes in 2 steps. What's the first step? One is called glycolysis, and second step is called as what? Fermentation. Glycolysis and fermentation. Right, here also you can see glycolysis. So here also glycolysis is there. That's why we will say that the common pathway for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration is glycolysis. How glycolysis takes place in aerobic respiration, same glycolysis, same steps will be there in anaerobic respiration also. And the next step is called as what? Fermentation. And here mitochondria is not associated. So mitochondria is absent. So you can ask me where these 2 reactions are taking place. These 2 reactions are taking place inside the cytosol. So if I brief, I can say that here C6H12O6 giving rise to 2 C2H5OH. That means 2 molecules of ethyl alcohol plus 2 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 56 kilocalories of energy. And this is a respiration which occurs in what? Lower organism. And it occurs in the absence of O2. Here glucose is partially oxidized. And you can ask me, here how many ATPs I told just now? It was 36 ATP. This is net gain. Net gain is 36 ATP. Here number of ATPs net gain will be 2 ATPs only. So in anaerobic respiration you are getting only 2 ATP, whereas in case of aerobic respiration you are getting what? 36 ATP. So it is that's why energy point of view we said it is an inefficient process. Right. That is the story of what? Anaerobic respiration. Now what we will do means we will go in detail about what? Aerobic respiration. Before going to aerobic respiration, can anybody say, can plants breathe? The question is that can a plants breathe? Can a plants do a process called as what? Respiration? Yes, plants also breathe. They also requires what? CO2 and gives us what? O2. That means these are the organism on this earth which is we can say exhaler of life. They are giving life to us. How? By taking the CO2 and giving us what? O2. Next, if you see that even these plants doesn't have any special respiratory organs. If you take humans, in human being you have a special respiratory organ. The special respiratory organ is nothing but lungs. Can a plant have a lungs? No. So how do they respire then? How do they respire means they respire with the help of water. Some structures called as water, stomata or lenticels, etc. You may be knowing about there are some minute pores on the plant epidermis. That minute pores which we call them as what? Stomata. And there are also structures called as what? Lenticels. With the help of this stomata and lenticels, what plants will do? Plants will do a process called as what? Exchange of gases. Plants will do exchange of gases. So exchange of gases are nothing but what? Respiration. So maybe they doesn't have any special respiratory organs, but they have some structures by which they can perform what? Respiration. What is that? Stomata and the lenticels. These stomata are present during what? Primary growth, and the lenticels are present during secondary growth. What is primary growth? When the plant is growing in a lengthwise manner, we call them as what? That is a primary growth. At that time, what will be there? Stomata will be there. And if the plant is growing in this is called as what? Lengthwise. This is the primary growth, right? When the plant grows like this we call them as what? Secondary growth. This is in the width, this is in the lengthwise manner. So when the plant is growing like this, then they have what? Stomata. When the plant is growing like in a widthwise manner, then they have what? Lenticels, right? So they have structures called as stomata and the lenticels. You know about how a stomata looks, etc. Now in detail if you go, there are some plants which have a special roots which we call them as what? Respiratory roots also. Respiratory roots. So here roots are doing respiration, right? roots are doing respiration. Actually, it is not a normal phenomena, which roots never do respiration, but there are some special roots, some modified roots, which call them as respiratory roots, which we can also call them as what? Nematophores. Nematophores. These are generally present for a plants like called as what? Mangroves. So even they are asking a question like, can a plants do respiration with roots? Yes, plants do respiration. Not all plants, only some plants. Why only some plants? Because they have a special modification. That special modification is called modified roots. Such modified roots are called respiratory roots, which we can also call them as what? Nematophores. Present in what? Mangroves. Very good example will be Avicennia and Rhizopora. Avicennia and Rhizopora. May not be the plants may not have any special respiratory organ. See, some plants are doing some special structure like respiratory roots. They are respiring. That is nothing but Avicennia and Rhizopora. See, now what we will do means, in detail, if you go about aerobic respiration, this aerobic respiration, just now I told it completes in 4 steps. It completes in 4 steps, right? In the first step, what happened? Before, just I am giving outlines about aerobic respiration. First, what takes place? Glycolysis takes place. In this glycolysis, what happened? The glucose molecule will be splitted into pyruvic acid. So, glucose molecule is splitted into pyruvic acid. Now, this pyruvic acid will undergo the second step. What is the second step called as what? Link reaction. Link reaction is nothing but we say oxidative, another name for link reaction, oxidative decarboxylation. Oxidative decarboxylation. That means the pyruvic acid, which is a product of glycolysis, is undergoing oxidative decarboxylation, which is nothing but link reaction, in order to produce what? Acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A. Now, this acetyl coenzyme A will undergo the next step of aerobic respiration called as what? Krebs cycle. When it undergo this Krebs cycle, this acetyl coenzyme A will form what? Carbon dioxide and water. What they form? Carbon dioxide and water. During this glycolysis, you can see some formation of ATPs and some formation of NADPH2 also, right? Even in the link reaction also, you can see formation of NADPH2. When acetyl coenzyme undergo Krebs cycle also, you can see formation of NADPH2. Along with that, you can see formation of FADH2, and even you can see formation of little amount of what? ATPs, right? So, here NADPH is produced during glycolysis, here NADPH produced during link reaction, and during Krebs cycle also NADPH, FADH2 and ATPs are produced. Then these FADH, these NAD and all these NADP, NADPH, NADPH, FADPH, total like that 10 NADPH2, 10 NADPH2 and 2 FADH2 are produced, which we call them as high energy electron pairs. That means these high energy electron pairs can donate their electrons. When they donate their electrons, that electrons will participate in the final step of aerobic respiration called electron transport system. Electron transport system can also be called as what? Oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation. Phosphorylation is nothing but formation of ATP is called as phosphorylation. That means why electron transport system is taking place means this electron transport system is taking place only for producing ATP. Because in the beginning only I told what is respiration. Respiration is nothing but liberation of energy. This is liberation of energy. So, the liberated energy will be stored in the form of ATP. The ultimate aim of aerobic respiration or aim of respiration is nothing but producing the cellular currency called as what? ATP. So, this is an outline of aerobic respiration. If you see on the screen, you see that glucose undergoing glycolysis. There you can see formation of NADPH and ATP. Again the glucose is undergoing what? Link reaction. Glucose undergoing what? Not glucose, the glucose product called as pyruvate or pyruvic acid. That pyruvic acid undergo what? Link reaction. It produces what? Acetyl coenzyme. That acetyl coenzyme enters into a process called as what? Krebs cycle. That Krebs cycle can also be called as what? Citric acid cycle, because the first formed compound in a Krebs cycle is called citric acid. That's why it's called citric acid cycle. Even that citric acid cycle, you can see the CO2 is coming out, along with that NAD, FADH are produced, and afterwards what is happening? Whatever that NAD, FAD are produced, they are undergoing what? Electron transport system, and when undergoing electron transport system, finally they are what they are produced? ATP is produced. At one place you can see there, instead of ATP we wrote GTP also is coming. That means if this process is taking place inside the plant cell, if the process is taking place inside the plant cell, the end product energy is ATP. If it is taking place in the animal cells, even not only animal cell, even in the human cells also, then instead of ATP what produced means GTP, guanosine triphosphate is produced. What is that? Here in animals and humans, instead of ATP what produced means GTP is produced, guanosine triphosphate. This is one of the basic difference between aerobic respiration of a plants and aerobic respiration of animals. Now comes to the first process called as what? Glycolysis. So in detail, if you study about the glycolysis, you can understand how the process glycolysis is going on. This just is only a brief outline. Now if you take glycolysis, which we call them as what? First step. Glycolysis is what? First step of aerobic respiration. Glyco means glucose. Lysis means what? Breakdown or splitting. So here what is happening means a glucose molecule is splitting. When a glucose molecule is splitting, you will get what means pyruvic acid, which is the end product of glycolysis. Let us think one glucose molecule is undergoing glycolysis. At the end you will get how many molecules of pyruvic acid? Means 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, right? If this glycolysis, in the beginning only I told, it is a step which is taking place inside the cytoplasm. Or cytoplasm, we can also say what? Inside the cytosol, nothing but the empty region of the cytoplasm. Next, this glycolysis was given by 3 scientists, that is Embedon, Mayerhof and Parnas. These are, so I am repeating again, who gave this glycolysis means, that is Embedon, Mayerhof, Parnas, 3 scientists. So if you take the first letter EMP, that's why it is also called in a short as EMP pathway. It is called as what? EMP pathway. Nothing but Embedon, Mayerhof, Parnas pathway. In this can also be called as exose diphosphate pathway. It is also called as what? Exose diphosphate pathway. Why it is called exose diphosphate pathway? Why? Because to the glucose, exose is nothing but glucose. C6, that is hexose. That to the glucose, 2 times you are adding phosphate. When you add 2 times phosphate, that's what is called as exose diphosphate pathway. Next, this glycolysis can also called as common pathway. It is also called as what? Common pathway. Why it is called common pathway? Because it is taking place in both aerobic respiration as well as anaerobic respiration. That's why it is called as common pathway for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So what I am saying, glycolysis is nothing but glycolysis means glyco means glucose, lysis means splitting. Here what is happening? A glucose is splitted. How the glucose is splitted? With the help of enzymes. We know that these all reactions are biochemical reactions. Biochemical reactions should be catalyzed some catalyst. Here the catalysts are nothing but what? Enzymes. They should be certain enzyme. Just glucose is not splitting into pyruvic acid. It is not a single step reaction. It consists of 10 reactions, you know. Glycolysis consists of 10 reactions. At the end of the 10th reaction, you will get the end product as what? Pyruvic acid. That's why it is not a single step. These are called as metabolic pathways, which consists of so many reactions. Here 10 reactions are there. At 10 reactions, there should be 10 different enzymes. And where glycolysis is taking place? Glycolysis is taking place in the cytoplasm. Whose cytoplasm? It may be a plant, it may be a bacteria, etc. That's why we say it takes place in cytoplasm of prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes. This is the only common pathway in respiration which is common for both prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes. Right. So this is the introduction about what glycolysis. Now we will go in detail about glycolysis. Just now I told it completes in 10 reactions. You should know the 10 reaction names. The 10 reactions are, simple way of remembering these 10 reactions is PI, PCI, ODI, DD. Right? This is a simple way of remembering these 10 reactions of a glycolysis. Why? Because we are going to write competitive track. When you are writing a competitive track, you cannot write all the reactions. That much time will not be there. There should be some mnemonic forms. We call this as a mnemonic. If you remember, like this is very easy to recapture. Here, P stands for phosphorylation. I stands for isomerization. P stands for phosphorylation. C stands for cleavage. I stands for isomerization. O stands for oxidation. D stands for dephosphorylation. I stands for intramolecular shift. Again D stands for dehydration. Again D stands for dephosphorylation. The total 10 reactions are there. So again I am repeating, what is P? P stands for phosphorylation. I stands for isomerization, phosphorylation, cleavage, isomerization, oxidation. This is the dephosphorylation. I stands for intramolecular shift. These I's are isomerization. The last I is the intramolecular shift. This is what dehydration. This is called dephosphorylation. Actually, you can ask me what is phosphorylation. Addition of phosphate is called as what? Phosphorylation. This is isomerization. This is phosphate. Again, addition of phosphate. How many times phosphate is added? 1, 2. That's why it is called as what? Exose diphosphate pathway. To the glucose, 2 times we are adding the phosphate. The next step is called as what? Cleavage. After the cleavage, what is there? Means isomerization. Structurally same, but functionally differ. Oxidation. Removal of hydrogen is called as oxidation. Dephosphorylation. That is removal of water phosphate. Next, intramolecular shift in the carbon position. This is dehydration, removal of water. This is not dephosphorylation, removal of phosphate. So like that, how many are there? Means 10 are there. So this is the first reaction, this is the second reaction, this is third reaction, fourth reaction, fifth reaction, sixth, this is the seventh, this will be the 8th, and this will be the 9th, and this will be the 10th. Like this 10 different reactions will be there, and 10 different products are formed. Now you are going to see that how that process is going on with these 10 different reactions. Right? The simple way of remembering this glycolysis is that here glucose undergo splitting and form pyruvic acid. This is called glycolysis. But this is not like this. It is like this. This glucose undergo the first step. The first step is called as what? Phosphorylation. Phosphorylation is addition of phosphate. When you add phosphate, it will become glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate. Where from that phosphate is coming? Who is giving that phosphate? Means some donor. Who is the donor? ATP, adenosine triphosphate. In this adenosine triphosphate, there are 3 phosphate. It will donate 1 phosphate. That will go and bind with the G, and it will become water. After giving phosphate, ATP will become ADP, and the glucose after taking the phosphate will become glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate will become in the second, it will become fructose 6-phosphate. This is called as what? The second step called as what? Isomerization. Structurally same but functionally different. This glucose 6-phosphate has become fructose 6-phosphate. In the next step called as what? Again P phosphorylation will become fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. This fructose 1,6 bisphosphate will undergo the second step. I told how many reaction? PI, PCI, ODI, DD. That means when P takes place, glucose 6-phosphate comes. When I takes place, fructose 6-phosphate comes. When again P takes place, fructose 1, bisphosphate comes. The next step is called as what? Cleavage. Cleavage is nothing but splitting. When one compound undergoes splitting, it will produce 2 compounds. What is that? One is a DHAP. What is DHAP? It is called as dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Along with that, it will produce G3P. What is G3P? Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. One thing you have to observe here, glucose is a 6 carbon and glucose 6-phosphate is also a 6-carbon. Fructose 6-phosphate is also a 6-carbon. Fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is also a 6-carbon. That means this 6-6-carbon after coming here will become a 3-carbon DHAP, a 3-carbon glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Just now I told what is glycolysis, what is respiration, conversion of complex into simple. So the complex, which is a 6-carbon compound, is splitting into a 3-carbon. Now this step is called as cleavage. After the cleavage, the DHAP undergo the next step, what we call them as what? Isomerization. And the DHAP also becomes what? Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So one thing you have to observe that here one molecule of glucose, here one molecule, here one molecule, here one molecule, here also when cleavage takes place, here also one molecule, here also one molecule. But when DHAP undergo isomerization, here number of molecules will become 2. Now, how many molecules of G3Ps are there? Means there are 2 molecules of G3P. These 2 molecules of G3P will undergo the next step. What is that? So this is cleavage over. Next is what? Isomerization. It become 2 molecules of 1,3-BPGA, biphosphoglyceric acid. What is BPA stands for? Biphosphoglyceric acid. This biphosphoglyceric acid is a product of a reaction called as what? Isomerization. Why I am writing 2 molecules means the number of G3Ps are 2. So 2 G3Ps are converting into 2 molecules of 1,3-BPGA. This 1,3-BPGA undergo the next step. What is that? Oxidation. Oxidation. What is oxidation? Removal of hydrogen. Where from you are removing hydrogen? You are removing hydrogen from 1,3-BPGA. When you remove hydrogen, there should be some hydrogen acceptor. Who is hydrogen acceptor? NAD plus. NAD plus. It is called as universal hydrogen acceptor. So when it accepts hydrogen, it will become NADPH2. It will become what? NADPH2. Right? How many molecules? You are removing 2 molecules of hydrogen, so the 2 molecules should be accepted by 2 NAD. When 2 NAD will become 2 molecules of NADPH2, and afterwards it will become 3-PGA. After oxidation, 1,3-PBGA will become 3-PGA. How many molecules? 2 molecules. Why? Because 1,3-BPGA are 2 molecules. So 2 molecules of 1,3-BPGA will become 2 molecules of 3-PGA. Now this 2 I am writing here. 2 molecules of what is that? 3-PGA, right, will become 2-PGA. How many molecules? 2 molecules. With the help of which step? With the help of what? The step called as what? This is what? Oxidation. After oxidation, what is there? Dephosphorylation is there. So 1,3-PPGA will become 3-PGA. During oxidation, what is happening? You are removing hydrogen. When you are removing hydrogen, that hydrogen is accepted by universal hydrogen called NAD. It will become NADPH2. That will become 3-PGA. 3-PGA will become 2-PGA. 2-PGA will become PEP. And PEP will become what? Pyruvic acid. This is a rough outline of what we can say the glycolysis. How many molecules you are getting? Because all are 2 molecules. This is also 2 molecules. So at the end, what you are getting means 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. This is called as what? Glycolysis. That if you see, you can see on the screen that in clearly their glucose is becoming glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate is becoming fructose 6-phosphate. Fructose 6-phosphate becoming fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, which is splitting into DHAP and G3P. That DHAP is undergoing isomerization, become 2 molecules of G3P. 2 molecules of G3P becoming 2 molecules of water, 1,3-BPGA. 1,3-BPGA becoming 3-PGA. 3-PGA will become 2-PGA. 2-PGA will become 2 molecules of PEP. 2 molecules of PEP will become 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. And you can see in between there are some enzymes. First, for example, if you take glucose become glucose 6-phosphate, there the enzyme which is catalyzing that reaction is called as what? Hexokinase. Same way, when glucose 6-phosphate is undergoing fructose 6-phosphate, there the enzyme is what? Glucose phosphate isomerase. Why? Because the reaction was isomerization. Same way, when fructose 6-phosphate become fructose 1,6-phosphate, there the enzyme is what? Phosphofructokinase. And that fructose 1,6 bisphosphate undergoing cleavage. So during cleavage, which enzyme is helping? Aldolase is helping. Same way, when DHAP is undergoing isomerization into G3P, there which enzyme is there? Triose phosphate isomerase. When glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is undergoing oxidation, the which enzyme is there? G3P dehydrogenase. G3P dehydrogenase, after that it will become 2 molecules of 1,3-BPGA. That is again undergoing dephosphorylation. When undergoing dephosphorylation, which enzyme is there? Phosphoglycerokinase. After phosphoglycerokinase, there was intramolecular shift. There the enzyme is phosphoglyceromutase, or simply you can say mutase. The next step is called as what? Dehydration. You can see there are 2 molecules of water is removed, that is called dehydration. There the enzyme is what? Enolase. And when PEP is undergoing the last step is called as dephosphorylation, what you are getting 2 molecules of pyruvic acid with the help of enzyme pyruvic kinase. So this everything is simple. What you have to remember means generally in the entrance examination what they are asking means they are not asking the pathway. They are focusing on ATPs, how many ATPs are produced in this process when 2 molecules of glucose entering, etc., like that. Right. So here what we see, PI, PCI, ODI, DD. Right. Whenever there is a P, phosphorylation is there. Remember, their ATP is utilized. So here also P is there. So here also ATP utilized. P stands for phosphorylation, right? So these are the 2 steps where ATPs are utilized. This D is called as what? Dephosphorylation. This D is called as what? Dephosphorylation. In dephosphorylation, ATPs are produced. ATPs are produced, right? You can you say me where that dephosphorylation is taking place? In step number 7 and step number 10. In step number 7 and step number 10. That is when 2 molecules of 1,3 BPGA 1,3 PPGA become 2 molecules of 3 PGA, that we call step number 7, that is dephosphorylation. There you can see formation of 2 ATPs. Same way in the step number 10, this is also dephosphorylation. There is also you can see formation of what? ATP. So wherever there is a dephosphorylation, there is a production of ATP. Wherever there is a phosphorylation, there is a utilization of ATP. So these dephosphorylation steps we can also call them as SLP. What we call them as SLP. SLP is nothing but what? Substrate level phosphorylation. Substrate level phosphorylation means you can see that 2 molecules of 1,3 BPGA, this is the step number 7, will becoming what? 2 molecules of 3 PGA. So and when one compound becoming another compound, during this time there is a formation of ATP. There is a formation of ATP. If ATP form between 2 substrates, such steps are called as what? Substrate level phosphorylation. You can count how many SLPs are there. Number of SLPs are equal to number of dephosphorylation. Number of dephosphorylation are 2. Number of dephosphorylation are 2. So number of SLPs also 2. Number of SLPs also 2. So one SLP will give 2 ATPs. One SLPs will give 2 ATPs. 2 SLPs will give how many ATPs? 2 SLPs will give 4 ATPs. So through SLPs, how many ATPs are produced means 4 ATPs are produced. 4 ATPs are produced. Out of 4 ATPs, 4 minus 2. Why I am doing minus 2 means they are utilized. Where they are utilized? During phosphorylation, step number 1 and step number 3. First ATP is utilized in step number 1, that is reaction 1, that is phosphorylation, and second ATP is utilized during another phosphorylation, that is step number 3. So how many ATPs are utilized? 2. So 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. We call this 2 ATPs as net gain. After utilization, the leftover ATPs are 2 ATP left. Right. So here what we are saying means number of dephosphorylations were 4. Out of 4 dephosphorylation, 2 ATPs are utilized. After utilization, the net gain is what? 2. So what we say, net gain of ATPs are 2. So net gain of ATP in glycolysis, if the question is like that, how many ATPs are produced through glycolysis? You see the difference between how many ATPs are produced in glycolysis. The next question is, what is the net gain of ATPs in glycolysis? Net gain means you should say 2 ATPs. If they use the word total number of ATP produced in glycolysis, then the answer will be 8. How the answer will be 8 means, you know that in glycolysis, there are, you should count how many oxidations are there. How many oxidation? 1 oxidation. This is the oxidation. Only 1 oxidation is there. One oxidation will give 2 NADPH, because at that step there is a removal of hydrogen. That hydrogen was taken by 2 NAD. The 2 NAD after taking the hydrogen will become 2 NADPH. These 2 NADPH also get converts into ATP. To NADP, not now. When it become ATP, after undergoing the last step of aerobic respiration. What is the last step of aerobic respiration? That is the last step of aerobic respiration is called as what? Electron transport system. Electron transport system. In electron transport system, 2-NADPH2 will undergo or will donate its electron in electron transport system. Finally, when electrons are coming out, along with the electrons, protons are translocated. Along with the electrons, what are translocated means protons are translocated. These protons only finally get converts into ATPs. That means when you can see that when one NADPH right. So if you see here 1 NADPH2, this is NADPH2 which we where from you got means from glycolysis. Where glycolysis taken place means in the cytosol. So this NADPH2 is also called as cytosolic NADPH2. One cytosolic NADPH2 will give 2 ATPs. When they give 2 ATPs, when they undergo a process called as what? Electron transport system, where electrons will be donated along with the along with that electrons, protons comes out. That protons finally get converted into ATP. So you can understand after some time that when you explain electron transport system, but time being you remember that one NADPH, that is cytosolic NADPH, will give 2 ATPs. Right here, how many NADPH2 are there? 4 NADPH2 are there. 2 NADPH2 are there. 2 NADPH will give how many ATPs? 4 ATP. So what is the contribution of ATPs through NADPH2 means 4 ATPs are produced. Here through SLPs, how many ATPs are produced? 4 ATPs are produced. Through SLP, 4 ATPs are produced because one SLP gives rise to 2 ATP. So 2 SLPs give rise to 4 ATP. So now, if what was the question? Total number of ATP produced in glycolysis. Answer is 8. Total is 8. If I say net gain, the net gain is also after the electron transport system in glycolysis. After the electron transport system, what is the net gain? Then the answer must be 6. Why? Because 8 minus 2 is equal to 6. Why I am doing minus 2 means the 2 has been utilized. Where the 2 has been utilized? The 2 has been utilized during what? Phosphorylation and another phosphorylation. Step number 1 and step number 3. So step number 1 and step number 3 ATPs are utilized. That's why we are getting what? 6 ATPs. 6 ATP. So at the end, what I want to say, if you say glycolysis, what is the end compound you got means you got pyruvic acid. What you got in ATPs means you got how many ATPs you got? 2 ATPs. The 2 ATPs through SLPs after utilization. So you can see on the screen that glucose is undergoing, one molecule glucose undergo, you will get 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. Same way, when 2 molecules of ATPs are utilized, 2 ADPs will be coming out. Same way, 4 ADP plus 2 PI, that will giving rise to 4 ATPs. That 4 ATPs are we are produced. And 2 NAD, you are getting the 2 NAD will become 2 NADPH2. So what is the output of glycolysis means you can say 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, 2 molecules of ADP, 4 molecules of ATP and 2 molecules of NADPH2. I think you understood. Thank you very much.